To ask you, first of all, thank you for this lecture. It was very interesting. And how many percentages of unemployment was in Egypt? What about this unemployment question? Yes, people had no job at all. Or what problem was?
Unemployment. Okay, Egypt, there's approximately 500,000 students who graduate from university every year. Our economy grows between 5 to 7%, depending on estimates. And for our economy to just employ the people who graduate, just to give them a job, regardless of what kind of job, our economy would need to grow by 18% a year. So this shows you that actually all these people graduating, there really are no jobs. The problem is, again, very much a system which has changed over the last 15 years to idealize the idea of a certificate and the kind of job you want, a desk job. I did a whole big study on the informal economy in Egypt, and I remember I was talking to a plumber who drives a Mercedes. Because this is the thing, in Egypt now, the jobs like, being a handyman, a plumber, things where you use your hands, they are the jobs that are most in demand, but unfortunately the supply, demand and supply is very low. So a good plumber, a good electrician, they make a lot of money. But there's very much a culture now that these jobs are for, the uneducated, that this isn't a job I want. So I was talking to the plumber and I'm like, so are you teaching your son, how to, he's like, no, my son went to university, he's gonna get a degree. And I'm like, okay, he will get a degree, but then he'll probably end up sitting in a cafe drinking coffee because there are no jobs. What we need now, we need entrepreneurs. We need people to actually create their own job opportunities because that's what needed in Egypt now. When you have a population that's growing so fast, we're gonna be 100 million in like a couple of years. No matter how much money or aid we get, no matter how much the government subsidizes food, our food is like 100 loaves of bread in Egypt cost like 100 loaves of bread. That's how subsidized everything. And even with the subsidies, the educational, medical, everything, it can't keep up because there's too many people. We're growing too fast, and the people who are having the most children are usually the most illiterate, the most uneducated, who have like 10 kids, don't send any of them to school. And they're going much faster than, the postgraduate, they tell you like a woman who has like a postgraduate degree, she's much less likely to have 3, like I don't know, can't remember the exact percentage, but she'll probably have 2 children maximum compared to that. So this unemployment rate, it definitely contributes because Egypt is still very much a society. We have cultural traditions, that you do not, and this is again a little generalizing, but to get married, you have to have an apartment. We don't really have, rent an apartment. It's still very much that you have to have an apartment, you have to have a job, so they don't get married. And a system where you have a lot of men, a lot of young men who are unemployed, who are not married, who have no kind of structure, like nothing to, how do I put it? There's no strong basis, of a family or nothing tying them down, if I put it that way. You have just a lot of young, frustrated men who aren't working. There is very much more likely, I think this can also be attributed to part of the reason, maybe the revolution happened. You just had so much population, so much energy, so much frustration. Where do we put all this? And this has always been talked about. It's always like the Arab world is a ticking time bomb, a ticking time bomb, a ticking time bomb. But no one ever really expected it to. It was just like a ticking time bomb. So this unemployment is it's very rampant. And unfortunately, because 90% of high school students score a 95% or higher in our high school exams. When Egyptians do, this is a little arrogant of me to say, but we're all very smart. When they do travel, when they do leave the country, unfortunately, which is why a lot of people do want to leave, they do succeed very much. But the jobs that are available in Egypt, very low paid, everyone wants their kids to be a doctor, But the average doctor in Egypt makes $50 a month. And that's a doctor that's been working for 10 years, $50 a month. So in order for them to work and make money, they have to have private clinics and overcharge people. A teacher, the same way. So they have private classes. And they actually, in public high schools, they will tell their kids, if you don't take these private classes, we fail you. So definitely unemployment plays a huge role. I think you're much less likely to be, if you have a stable life, you have a family, you have a job, you have an income, it's very hard on a lot of, to be 30, to imagine being 30 and you're still taking pocket money from your parents and you graduate and you have a university degree, but you've been waiting for 10 years and you can't find a job. Just trying to imagine the psyche, the kind of how that influences your behavior and how that influences you as a citizen. Why should I give back to a country? Why should I feel patriotic towards it? Why should I be a moral, upstanding citizen when I have my life isn't, a good life? So, yeah, you're welcome.
If
if we speak about enterprise, how it's changed, or is there some new investors in Egypt, or is there some more freelancers?
Okay. So foreign direct investment in Egypt has always been something we've been trying to grow. I did the business beat also for a while. The thing is, Egypt is one, or it was one of the countries, it is seen very, a good opportunity to invest. But again, a lot of companies that do invest, we have a lot of real estate, there's a lot invested into tourism, but right now, obviously, FDI is kind of disappeared because of the situation in Egypt. It's very hard to lure, it's proving very hard to even get the tourists back, Please come to Egypt. It's very, we have a lot of Russians that come to Egypt, so we should have Latvians so we can tell them. People didn't know what Latvia was very much back home. So definitely foreign direct investment is a big source. It was always in our GDP, high up, but again, in this recent period, it's proving much harder, especially with privatization, and especially now a lot of people are saying that, all these places that were privatized, they should be, the people. A lot of different ideologies and schools of thought would start playing, and a lot of people are getting more and more vocal. And when you have a lot of people that were never vocal and suddenly you have so many voices and so many loud voices, it's hard to predict exactly how it will look like and what kind of investors will be accepted, what kind of investors will even want to come to Egypt during this period of time.
If there are no more questions, I would like to thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Baldes.